Hello everybody. I'm in the garage today and I'm building some boxes or flower boxes for around the deck. I'm going to put these boxes in front of the deck and plant some cascading type flowers so they'll grow over out of the box. So to do this, I've already made two. I need three for the front of my deck. Each one is 8 foot long. Went to the store, picked up some deck boards. That's all this is made of is pressure treated deck board, and it's basically a box without a top on it. So I'll show you how I do this. It's really simple, and it's a really cheap way to make a box for flowers. There's nothing special about it. It's not crazy fancy. In fact, it's not fancy at all. But once I stain this to match the deck and I put some flowers in it and the flowers grow over it, it doesn't need to be fancy. So to start out with, I have a bottom and two sides. So I picked this as the bottom. It had some knots in it. I wasn't too happy with the fact that it had knots in it, so it could be the bottom. So the first thing I'm going to do is to screw the sides on to the bottom. And if you've ever worked with pressure treated wood, you know that it's wet, and as it dries it'll start to flex and actually warp. So we're going to put quite a few screws in here. But to run along the side, every 6 inches will be a screw. So I'll just mark out the locations all the way down the board. Then what I want to do is to make sure that I'm catching the sideboard will overlap the bottom board. So I want to make sure that I'm in the center of the thickness of the bottom board. So to do that, I'll just take a square and kind of guess where the center point is with this. And that looks about right. So everywhere that I marked 6 inches, I'll have an X on where the screw is going to be placed. This is just an easy trick, so I don't have to keep taking the tape measure out. Now on the end here, this will be in the center, and then the two sides will be around it here. So I'm going to have screws coming up to box it in. So on this end, we're going to do a couple of marks. The halfway point all the way up the edge of this board, and we'll put 3 screws in there to attach the end. And now I can mark where my first screw will be. And that's right there. So I always like to pre-drill. It just makes it a neater job. It's probably not necessary, but it's something that I prefer to do. So I would just go down this board length everywhere I have an X. I'll put a hole for a screw. And then we can screw this side onto the bottom. And because of my surface not being really flat, I'm going to start down here just to get started. And just going to pull the boards together, line up the end, and keep the bottom flush. Lined up. And get this first screw in. I'm just using 1 5/8" decking screws. We'll go down this whole board here. We'll skip a couple in between just to keep this and I'll work back, fill it in. It'll be your side. We got them all. We'll do the same thing with this one. Every 6 inches will be a screw. We'll mark out the 6-inch locations. Get our depth here. using this little square already set for the halfway point and the thickness of the board. So again, on the end, we'll mark the halfway of the thickness of the board along the edge. A couple marks, and then we'll get this end screw marked. Some holes in this one. Bottom or side, just flip it, and to help me out a little bit, I'm going to put some stacked 2x4s, get kind of close to the height on this. Since I don't have anyone here to hold anything for me, this will just help keep it where it won't move around. So I could get some screws in to get started. Somewhere here, keep it in place. Pretty good, pretty lined up well. And just go down the line, fill all these holes. There's a little bow or bend here. See if I can straighten it out. Alright, so there's our almost halfway done flower box. Move my cheaters out of the way. Now, I already went ahead and cut the ends. The ends they're a little shorter than the top, which is fine. I purposely made it that way because I don't want to really see looking straight on. I don't want to see the tops of these. Put some holes, 3 screws. Flush. On down the end. Take these out because the end here just didn't quite line up. See if I can get a better fit. Plan for this. box is finished. So every 2 feet I'm going to put a block in here, and what that'll do is just keep it from warping. So I'll just measure down every 2 feet. And I'll take a square so I can mark all the way to the other side. Smaller square and give myself a line down the front. And that way I know I'm putting the screws in the center of the block. I just use 2 screws on each side for this. Alright, there you have it, 1 flower box. Now, the thing with flower boxes is they don't hold a lot of dirt, so you need to, if you're going to do this, you need to keep it wet or keep it watered, especially in the heat of the summer, at least 2-3 times a day. But what I have is, I'm going to run an irrigation system through this, and I'll do a video on that when I get to that point. But keep in mind, if you do plan on doing something like this, water is an issue. So now the next step would be to put some drain holes in the bottom of this. So the drain holes, I'll just go right down the center, but I want to mark where those race pieces are so that I don't drill a hole through them. And then I'm thinking every 5 inches I'll put a hole. I know it says water is an issue. You're probably thinking, why is he putting drain holes in if water is an issue? When it rains, especially in the summer, we get heavy downpours or thunderstorms. I don't want the dirt to get washed out of this or for it to overflow. So to prevent that from happening, we'll put some drain holes in. I figure we'll set them in the middle. So this is 8 inches, we'll go 4 inches. Here. I'm going to put 3/4 inch holes in this. Should be plenty big enough for any excess water running out of it. You don't want your plants sitting in water, or the roots will rot. I think I'm going to change over to a paddle bit. This wood is wet, so it's not being cooperative. Drilling holes. So let me get a paddle bit and I'll be right back. Alright, so I switched over to a 3/4 inch paddle bit. Hopefully this works better than this Forstner bit. Like I said, this wood is wet. Much better. Better. Now I got a mess to clean up. So there's our drain holes and our box is ready to go. I'm going to leave this sit for a couple days so this wood dries. I'm going to put some stain on it to match the deck, and when I get to that point I can show you how I'm going to mount this. So here's 3 of the flower boxes. I have them in the garage because the weather really hasn't been cooperating. There's been a lot of rain and I need to get these stained. I built a total of 7. I have 4 that will go along my fence. These 3 here will go along the front of my deck in the yard. So the 4 that are done are outside. They're painted or stained in a chocolate color, which is the color of my fence out there that I'm going to hang them from. And these 3 here for the deck, this color is called Timberline, which will match the color on the deck. And all this is just the Olympic stain. I buy the most expensive paint anytime I do any kind of painting or staining. I'm of the opinion that the better paint or better stain just makes for a better job, and for the difference in the cost and how the job will look when it's all finished, to me it's worth it. Now this says it's a 10-year protection. I've been using this for probably 25 years. It's pretty close to a 10-year protection on a fence or on a deck. I would say maybe 8 years. After 8 years, you really need to coat it again with one coat to freshen it up. And the nice thing with this stain is you really don't have to sand anything. You pretty much just power wash and go right over the existing stain that is on your deck or your fence or whatever you might have that's outside, you know, that you're staining with an outdoor stain. So I'll finish up here. This is all just one coat. I'll put 2 coats on everything, and hopefully in the next few days the weather will cooperate and I can get these things hung up outside. So let me get back to work staining, and when I'm finished we'll come back and I'll be in the yard hanging these. Alright, so I got all the boxes ready to hang on the fence. First thing I'm going to do is in each corner I'm just going to drill 1 hole for a screw. I'm going to use 3-inch deck screws to attach these to the post. For now I'll drill 1 hole just to get started. I'll get them all up with 1 screw on either end, and then I'll go back and I'll put 2 more in, and the 3-inch screws should hold it. They're relatively light. There's not much dirt in there. They should hang forever until this wood rots. So these will just go right in the corner. I'll put them on an angle. Alright, we're ready to put hung. There's already existing boxes that run down the fence, so I'm just going to take off from this end one. And then just make sure it's level all the way down. Alright, so here you have it. The flower box is attached to the fence.
and I added on to what was existing down here, and all the flowers are planted, and they'll cascade down over the front. You won't even see this box after these flowers are all in bloom. I'll take you over to the deck, show you the boxes I attached to the deck. So here's the 3 boxes that are attached to the deck with the petunias planted in them. And I don't know if you can see it, but I ran the irrigation line all the way down. These flower boxes will dry out real quick, so the irrigation system set up on a timer. It'll water it once a day for 5 minutes. Keep these things alive. I think it turned out pretty good. We'll see how it looks in another month. I'll keep you posted. I hope you enjoyed the video. It might give you an idea for a flower box in your own yard. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.